During this video, I will be spoiling just about anything that occurs within this episode of Total Drama Island's newest season. I have done my best to ensure the title and thumbnail spoil as little as possible, but for the rest of this video, I cannot make any promises for this episode I'm talking about or any prior episodes in the same season if applicable. With all that being said, you have been warned. Hey everybody, QG here. We're back again with the episode 3 review discussion video for Total Drama Island's newest season. And I gotta say, these have been fun doing so far. I've really been enjoying making these videos, so if you guys want to see more like this, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, comment down below, let me know your thoughts on these episodes and the content in them, or videos and the content in them and that kind of thing. I want to hear your thoughts on the new season. And make sure to share with your friends so that hopefully we can make, more content like this. So, with that being said, let's get into the episode. So, episode 3 starts off with Wayne, Raj, MK, and Nichelle talking about Nichelle's status as a movie star. And we see a couple cutaway gags where we see like Nichelle as like a airline is it flight attendant? Is that what you call it? Flight attendant. We see her as one of those taking down a hijacker, and then we see another cutaway scene where she's shown dressed as like a band kid with a flute taking out a werewolf. And those are fun. Those are neat little comedy bits. But the cool thing is that in the first one where she's on the plane, there's actually a background cameo of Rocket and Spud from the Redonkulous race. So I thought that was a very cool detail. I don't think we've seen Redonkulous race characters since Redonkulous race. So it was cool to see them show up, and I think this also marks the first characters that previously were on the show, besides Chris and Chef, to actually appear in the new season since it was brought back. I think Rock and Spud are the first now. I could be wrong on that. But there's a funny little bit as they're talking about this where like MK is, she being the kind of... is it really fair to describe her as a nihilist? Or I don't even know if that's how you say that word. Whatever. The what I'm trying to get here is MK is talking about to Wayne and Raj because they think that everything Nichelle does is real. MK is like, well, no, she's a movie star. It's stuff you see on TV. It's not real. And then they have this really bizarre crisis on like, are they even real, like themselves because they're on a TV show. It's funnier watching it than it is hearing it from how I'm describing it. But after that scene, Priya and Millie are in the mess hall together. Priya is doing a bunch of like intense workouts, and Millie is questioning her about it, asking what's up and what she's here for, what she's wanting to do. Priya explains that she wants to go to med school, but from, as I've already established before, from birth, Priya has been destined to win Total Drama by her parents. That's what they've been training her for her whole life. But we get more context on that here in this scene. So Priya says she's interested in med school, but that her parents want her to focus on winning Total Drama, and then from there just focus on winning the reality TV, going through the reality TV circuit, just going on a bunch of other reality TV shows and competitions and that kind of thing, because they view it as more important. So, needless to say, Priya is already set up to be a very interesting character with a very interesting familial conflict. From episode 3, this is established. And of course, Millie, she's like more of an outsider that doesn't view herself as fitting in with most of the rest of the cast. She hears this and is deeply concerned for Priya. So they end up slowly but surely starting to bond a bit here. That's what starts here, is them bonding. They become a neat little duo from here on, but this is where it starts. We get a scene where Z is telling Chase and Damien how he lost his leg, and he's telling this grand tale about it. Not real at all. Nothing about it is real. But yeah, he's telling this grand story about it, and it's mildly funny, but it also does introduce a character flaw, which is that Z will be more than happy to be dishonest if it means making other people happy. And I think that's, I could be reading too much into that, but I think that's a very interesting flaw for a character like Z to have. And mild spoiler alert here, that's gonna come back later as well. Like, that's not, I'm making that comment not just because it happens in this scene, but it will be coming up later on in the future in regards to Z specifically. The whole being dishonest for the sake of making people happy. From there, we get a scene with Raj and Bowie. They're talking and eating, attempting to eat. The food looks horrible. You can see it in one of the pictures here. But they're talking, and Bowie's wanting to hear about a story that Raj has about hockey. And during the story, he ends up flicking food on him by accident and tries to get it off. They have a little interaction there. Wayne comes up shortly thereafter and sits down with like a dozen of those bowls and races Raj to finish them before Raj can finish the one. It's a fun little bit there. But during this scene, we notice that Raj is taking particular interest in Bowie. There's definitely like his mannerisms and the things he's saying and the ways he's saying them come across as very, you are more interested in Bowie than an average guy would be. And it's attention getting. It's something you notice for sure. From there, though, after Wayne and Raj start trying to race each other eating or whatever. I think, yeah, Millie has like a little scene again where she's watching them do that and taking notes again, because that's her thing initially, is taking notes on the other competitors, their shortcomings, their weird quirks, that kind of thing. Very, very much a holier than thou type personality for the character. She's not, I don't think she tries to come off as like smug or better than them, so much as she definitely views herself as more normal or traditional, you could say. Less weird is the way to put it. Less weird. But anyways, after that plays out, we get to the actual challenge, which is the obstacle course challenge that was also in quite a few promo materials that we've seen. It's the one where they have the team colored helmets. You can see some of the pictures of that here. And for this challenge, so, yeah, because the pictures I'm showing here don't really do a great job of explaining what the challenge is. It's got like different parts of the course. Everyone on the team has to go through it once, except for one person from each team. So they choose to have like one person from the Frogs and one person from the Trout be put in this tube chamber thing. It's chosen at random. So Julie gets picked for the Frogs, Damien gets picked for the Trout, and they get put in this tube thing that has like 6 locks on it, I believe, and it fills up with water as the challenge goes on. And basically, each competitor on each team has to get to the end get through the obstacle course to get a paper slip that tells them what number to put in for the keypad, and they have to do that until everyone has went through once, because then once everyone's went through, they can unlock the tube, and then that'll deem them the winner of the challenge. So it's a very cool challenge. I like it. It sounds more complicated than it actually is, but I like it because it's very Survivor-esque, and it's an interesting dynamic to have one teammate be like stuck in something and the rest have to work together to get them out. It's a neat dynamic that I don't think we've seen a lot in regards to Total Drama challenges, so I like seeing it here. Ripper for the Trouts decides to try taking charge now that, Axel is gone. There's no one else to really step up to the plate to lead. So Ripper tries to take charge. He chooses to have himself, Chase, and Z go first, while the rest of the team, Millie, Priya, and Scary Girl, go after them, presumably because the nerd girls, Ripper likes calling people nerds, but the girl characters are going to slow them down, so it's better to have the guys go first to get a huge lead over the other team to psych them out or whatever. So, and then, of course, as he's doing this, Priya gets a confessional where she's explaining how much she doesn't like Ripper, which is valid. No, Ripper is a character. I don't mind him, but we'll get more into that in a future video, I'm sure. But so the challenge starts, it plays out, we go through the challenge quite a bit, and the frogs end up with a huge lead over the trout. Like, the trout have 3 people to go, Millie, Priya, and Scary Girl, because the guys did horribly. Shocker, I know. But, yeah, Millie, Priya, and Scary Girl are left for the trout to finish, and then for the frogs, the only one left to finish is Nichelle. And Nichelle starts to do the challenge, and come to find out, oh yeah, so earlier at the start of the episode, when they were talking about how she's a movie star, they were talking about how, like, oh, she's so talented because she does all her own stunts and that kind of thing. Here, we find out she, in fact, does not do all her own stunts. In fact, she does none of them, and she's actually very physically weak and almost kind of incompetent, challenge-wise, in a way. That was an interesting twist that I didn't really see coming for Nichelle. She definitely gave the impression of, how she's presented at the start of the episode. That's about how I envisioned she'd be. And then you just see her character kind of just crumble immediately. And it was so odd to watch, but it kind of fit at the same time. I didn't mind it. So, of course, Nichelle is trying to get through the course as fast as she can. By the time Nichelle starts, I think Millie is finishing. So then that leaves Priya and Scary Girl to try to pick up the slack. Priya breezes through it no problem. She's been training for Total Drama her whole life. She's very physically fit. And then Scary Girl also, we come to find out, is also very physically strong and capable to the point where she is barging through the wall of the first obstacle, the wall climb thing or whatever, pulling a bear out of it, and then proceeding to suplex the bear to each side with one arm. Needless to say, Scary Girl is scarily strong. So that was also a neat twist. I really liked that touch. I didn't expect that at all from Scary Girl. But so this challenge continues playing out, and I think by the time Priya finishes, Nichelle also finishes, but she drops the paper slip and has to go get it, and she kind of just sits there, breaks down. Because she sees herself as a fake and a fraud, all that kind of stuff. And the rest of her team is trying their best to be optimistic and not berate her because they want her to just get the paper and win for the challenge. MK is the only one who's verbally like, Nichelle, what are you doing? MK is the only one who's just not putting up with her at all. It's very entertaining to see the back and forth between MK and Emma, between how they should address Nichelle and try to get her motivated again to finish the challenge. Eventually, it becomes down to a neck and neck between Scary Girl and Nichelle, but Nichelle just kind of aimlessly ends up running into a wall, and Scary Girl ends up winning the challenge for her team. So, so the trout wins, frogs are up for elimination, and we get to the elimination ceremony, and while it seems like Nichelle is the obvious boot here, MK is also on the chopping block because the team was not too fond of her sort of negativity when trying to get Nichelle motivated for the challenge, and we even get a confessional showing Bowie saying basically that Nichelle may have lost in the challenge, but MK isn't a team player. And so that was a nice touch. It created a lot of last minute tension there, which, as we're going to find out later, is something that the season is really good at doing, is adding last-minute tension to elimination ceremonies. But, so it comes down to the wire. It's between Nichelle and MK, and in the end, Nichelle is, of course, still the third boot of the season. Her stunt double is named Jerry. That's the person that actually does all the stunts in her movies. And it's funny watching her go, and instead we get a really funny bit where, like, instead of blaming herself for how she did, she blames Jerry for not being there when she needed him. I loved that bit. That was really funny. So yeah, that was episode 3. It may have seemed like I didn't have a lot to say there, and honestly, it's because this episode is a lot more focused on just being entertaining. And by entertaining, I mean the physical comedy aspects. Most of the character stuff that would be worth discussion pretty much occurs before the challenge. Anything during the challenge is sort of reserved for the comedy this time around. Nichelle, I don't think I really need to elaborate on what her character is supposed to be and why she is the way she is. You know, I mean, it's the kind of character that just sort of explains itself, and I don't feel like I need to elaborate much on her. My bigger question is, what in the world are they going to do with her in the follow-up season? Because Nichelle is physically pretty incompetent, and she's popular, sure, but it doesn't matter if she struggles to even so much as climb up a rope. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they even do with her. So it's okay, how do you justify her getting far, or even just farther than how she already did? Because with the first 2 eliminations, Caleb and Axel, you could totally see how they'd make it farther, because we saw basically nothing of Caleb, and Axel is obviously very physically competent, just lacking a little in the social game aspect. But after suffering for that already, there's a pretty good chance that she'll learn from that and do a lot better the second go-around. I don't know what Nichelle is going to do to improve her chances of doing better the second season. Believably, anyways. It's kind of up to the writers on that. Still on the topic of Nichelle, though, I do think the writers may have fumbled a little bit by making her not seem incompetent the first 2 episodes. She had somewhat prominent parts in the first 2 episodes challenges. She was with Wayne in the blind relay in the first episode and didn't seem to be doing too poorly. It was the typical celebrity stuff, she didn't want to walk around bees because she didn't want to get stung on her face. Okay, that's typical. I understand that. Then episode 2, she's doing an okay job trying to aim the cannons of cabbage at the other team. I don't know if she ends up actually hitting any of them. It is a good chance Emma was the one doing most of that. But, she was at least trying, and I think there were at least a couple points where she was hitting things. So she's not completely useless in challenges. It's just, I don't know. I'm a little lost on why they portrayed her the way they did and in the prior episodes to her elimination. It feels a little, it felt a little out of place. Not out of place. It felt a little out of nowhere based on what we'd seen of her up to that point, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. It's not really a knock on the writers or anything. It's just surprising, is all. So, that is episode 3. Overall, very fun episode. It's a lot more fun to watch than it is to hear me explain why I like it, because, again, most of what makes this episode work is the physical comedy bits. I think this episode does a great job of that. It's always been a Total Drama strong suit, but this episode in particular definitely puts a bigger emphasis on that over anything else, and I really like it. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully I'll have episode 4's review/discussion video out soon-ish, and until the next one, peace.